all are a part of it just as we are. So let's continue to do that together. I want to bring up the moderator of this panel for this afternoon. He is a leader in his own right. He has been working diligently on the ground with a lot of victims as they deal with their crisis and their time of need. He is one of our dynamic chapter leaders out of the borough of Brooklyn. He is a reverend. He is a father. He is definitely one who is a growing role model, as we will call him, and leader in our community in the New York City area. I'm going to bring him to moderate this discussion at this time, the Reverend Dr. Kevin McCall.
Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon. Give yourselves a hand for being here all week. How many of y'all been here all week? That's good, that's good, that's good. Well, my name is Reverend Kevin McCall, and I'm the president of the Brooklyn East chapter. That area that I cover is East New York, Brownsville, Canarsie, and that is the area that I cover. And I enjoy working and helping and assisting as much as I can, dealing with the issues of social justice. And we continue to deal with those issues on a daily basis. And I tell people all the time, you know, we have to learn how to be able to deal with issues, not just in the pulpit, but not just on Sunday morning, but every day of the week. Because these issues don't just happen on Sunday, they happen every day. And we need to continue to deal with those issues. And I want to commend the life and the patronage of the founder of the National Action Network, Reverend Al Sharpton. Let's give him a hand. For he is definitely one of the best civil rights leaders that are doing great work in this country, and I enjoy working side by side with him. And I just don't understand, where does he sleep at? Because this guy runs, and he has my energy as the youth. And I give him all the respect and diligently for not just dealing with it. It's hard dealing with black folks. I will say that again. I say it's hard dealing with black folks. And for him to be able to continue to be dealing with us on a daily basis, you can understand that so many people come up to him to deal with so many issues. So he has continued to be the fierce leader of today's country. Let's give him another hand. This panel is a part 2 panel of the panel that we had earlier this week. And we need to be able to have this dialogue, and we wanted to have this discussion regarding police brutality, the impact. And I'm going to introduce and talk about briefly who is on today's panel, and then I'm going to have everyone introduce themselves, and we can go forward from there. To my left, we have the sister of Sean Bell. Let's give her a hand, Delores Bell. I will always remember the legacy of Sean Bell because it happened on the night of my birthday. And I was just turning, I'm going to tell my age, but I was just turning the age. And I was celebrating, and I got the call that this tragic thing happened to Sean Bell. So I will always remember that. And also to my left, we have the sister of Amadou Diallo, Laura Diallo Brown. Let's give her a hand. Yeah. Amadou Diallo, as you know, was shot and killed 41 times for having a wallet in his hand. One of the most terrific, tragic things I ever heard. You know, and we must continue to deal with that. To my right, this young lady has been on the forefront since incident, tragedy happened to her father, and she has been one of my mentors, and she don't even know it. But she has really gained the strength and gained the opportunity to have those opportunities to have the strength of a leader. And she is one of the rising leaders of today, living up her father's name and his legacy. And one thing I like about her is that she prays. And she put God first in everything she does. I don't care what she's doing, and what she's going around, but she definitely put God first. And we want to pay homage to her. And that's the daughter of Eric Garner, Emerald Garner. This young man has been a furious leader of today, and we thank him for being on this panel to deal with the issues. You know, sometimes we cannot just have discussion without youth. We need to be able to have the youth in the room when we're talking about issues, because believe it or not, youth, things are affected on youth every day. The youth get harassed every single day, going to school, coming home from school, on the train, on the bus. So we cannot just have a panel without having the youth at the table. So we want to pay homage to our brother, David Mims from the NAN Youth Huddle. Let's give him a hand. We also wanted to be able to pay homage to the brother of Trayvon Martin, Jarius Fulton. He is here. Stand, brother. Let's give him a hand. Sometimes you don't have to be very vocal, but you can also be committed and educated to the struggle, and we must pay homage to him and his family at this time. Let's give him another hand. We also have the mother of Eric Garner, Esaw Garner. Give Esaw a hand. The wife, sorry. The wife of, that's what they wrote here. The wife of Eric Garner. Let's give Esaw a hand. I'm sorry. You know what, Esaw, she is not going to let me live that day. We also have the mother of Amadou Diallo here. Let's give her a hand. Come on, let's give her a hand. Okay, so we thank everyone for being here, and we thank everyone for being here at this time to be able to deal with these issues that we have. So we're going to start this panel off, and we're going to just deal with the issues of police brutality and how they impact on us on a daily basis. Each of these panelists have dealt with different issues and dealt with things. So the first question we want to be able to have a discussion, starting with Delores Bell, the sister of Sean Bell, is we want to talk about how do you cope with what happened to your loved one. It was all over the news, and it was all over the social media, but how do you cope with what happened to your loved one, dealing with that?
First thing is God. We got but having a family that loves and supports me, and everyone that's in the building that supports my family, I thank you. God was praying to God and ask Him for forgiveness from my heart, forgive people that hurt my brother. I was 14 when it happened in 2006. I really didn't understand why it happened, or question, why me, why my brother, but only God knows, and everything happened for a reason. And
Thank you. All right. All right.
I just take one day at a time, and I have my nieces to look up to me and know that everything's gonna be okay.
Thank you to the National Action Network for being a huge support to me and my family throughout the years. For me personally, it gets harder as I sit here, especially today, and I look around the room and I see all these tragedies and all these victims. My brother was tragically killed in 1999. It's been over 15 years now. So my hopes then were that we never have to live through a tragedy like that ever again. And I sit here and I look at everybody, you know, Delores, Belle, and it's so real every day. You live it, you know, you watch these tragedies, you watch the cases, and it brings it back. So how I cope with it, you know, my mother has been my inspiration. She is an amazing woman.
Yes.
I don't know how she does it. I'm a mother now. You know, when my brother was killed, I was young too. And now I'm a mom of 3 boys. So I have to answer to these questions. That they have. And it's hard because, you know, my tragedy now is a reality through my kids every day. They ask questions. And it's our job here as the victims to pave the way for them so that they're not going through life scared that something like that can happen to them. But how do we do that? You know, it keeps on going. It's happening every day. So I also would like to thank the City of New York because we have had such a support since we've been here. You know, the National Action Network, but the support of all of you guys means the world. And like Delores said, prayer, you know, we have God and, you know, our family and you guys to thank. So hopefully, you know, we don't have to sit here and have to talk about this again in the future. Thank you.
I'm a little bit emotional, but I just, you know, I understand somebody else's, that I get that other people feel my pain. Like I thank everyone who was supportive to us, who, you know, helped us get through this. We're still not fully healed. It's, you know, 10 plus years later for other victims, and no, it's never a full healing session, you know. So to have the support is really what gives you the strength to keep talking about it or to keep doing something about it. So, you know, when this happened to us last year, I was an adult with a child. My daughter, she was 3, she's 4 now. So, you know, she knew my father. We spent a lot of time together. And like I tell people, like we fought hard, but we loved hard. So, you know, those memories that you have, those are the memories that you hold on to because
it's usually easier for me to talk about it, but it's just like, you know, you never really heal, and I haven't really had the time to really breathe from my situation because it's like I just automatically jumped into, you know, getting out there and making people aware, but it's much more than that. It's about how people raise their kids so they won't be a victim. Like, you know, you teach your kids certain things so they won't be a victim. I fear for my daughter all the time. Like, sometimes I say I'm glad I didn't have a boy because I would fear for my son. Like, I think of my brother, they're younger than me. They, you know, they're out there all the time. I worry about them because of who their father is or, you know, because of their relation to the family. So it's hard to, like, you know, look at your brother and say, okay, I'll see you later because you really don't know. Like, you know, I saw my father the weekend before and I said, okay, I'll see you next week. And that week never came. So it's like, it's more important now to be involved because it's like, if you're not there for
for your kids. It's not gonna give them the comfort to say, okay, I can go to my parents with anything. You know, like they feel scared, so they look for love in other places. That's why they go to gangs, so they don't have a family. They say the gang is their family. But if they had the support or the people that they needed from the beginning, they wouldn't have to look for alternate people who they consider family. Like, you know, you can't just drop your kids off and just say, okay, I'll be back at 6 o'clock. You have to be involved in their life. Like, you know, my mother, you know, for most of my childhood, she's, you know, rheumatoid arthritis. She had a knee replacement. I was really young, so she was bedridden for 2 years. So it was kind of hard for us, you know. I had my mother and my father there, so, you know, it wasn't easy for us to just, you know, break free and do what we want to do and, you know, just get out there. So, you know, we weren't 13-year-old mothers. We weren't, you know, I dropped out of high school and I went to obtain my GED. Passed it the first time. I have to add that. I failed that a lot of times, but, you know, I got to a point in my life where I was like, no, I don't want to be like the next person. So it's like more important for me to let people know to be there, because I don't see me not being there for my daughter, because I don't want her to grow up and feel alone, because you feel alone when you lose somebody that you had your whole life. You know, I don't know my life without my father, so, you know, Delores is younger than her brother, so I don't know. I don't have an older brother, but, you know, I have older sisters, and if I lost my sibling after knowing them my whole life, you begin to feel empty. So after all that, I just want to say thank you to everybody who supports us as, you know, we're family now, because y'all just my family. So that's it.
One thing that we all know is we're going through a lot of pain. I've been through pain a lot myself because I was a victim and a survivor of police brutality. I was filming during the Hurricane Sandy storm in 2012, and while I was filming, some officers was trying to call for my attention, but I couldn't hear them, so they got into a temper tantrum and beat me and nearly killed me. They tried to throw charges on me and threw me in jail for like 2 weeks to try to cover up the story. That's why everybody, mostly everyone in this audience, is not familiar with my story. They tried to throw felony charges, and I went through hell trying to get lawyers, just almost lost my job, trying to get certain jobs I wasn't able to get because I had felony charges put on me, and they're not going to try to hire anybody if they feel like they may be going to jail. I went through a lot of depression, almost went through suicide because of it, but I decided to fight and not give up, because I'm not going to let these people define me. One way, there was multiple ways I did this. I went through therapy, I went through treatment. They diagnosed me with post-traumatic stress disorder, so I take medication, so sometimes I get a little frustrated. One way, a way that I dealt with it, another way was I read a real great book called The Rejected Stone by Al Sharpton, which I have with me right now. Now, there's a part in the book that says, define yourself before others define it for you. And I refuse to let these punk officers define me. I've been a productive person in my community for years. I've been a counselor, social worker in a homeless shelter, help people get out of homelessness, unite them with their families, help people get jobs. I have a high extended background in education and also community work. I graduated college. You know, I'm not no thug, I'm not no criminal. They try to paint the picture, I'm such a horrible person. Like, you know, they try to assassinate my character like everyone else's. You know, everybody else's, you know, victims. You know, Sean Bell, Amadou Diallo, Eric Garner, you know, Mike Brown. They always try to assassinate our characters. But I'm here today to fight for those who were not able to fight today, who didn't survive. And and those who are unable to speak today. So I'm here today to speak for everyone.
And we need to continue to support these families. You know, I attended many funerals. Last year I dealt with about 127 funerals. And out of those 127 funerals, 72 of them was under the age of 45. And 15 of them have dealt with young people. So we need to continue to keep the issue of dealing with this violence. And that's to my next question. How can the audience deal with the issue of, you see it on the news, you see what happened, to prevent it from not happening again, what happened to the loved one? What can we tell the audience to prevent things from what happened to your loved one again? And I want to start with David Mims.
Well, there's a lot of solutions that we need to do. One solution is to continue fighting and to not give up. The way these forces out here are against us, we can't just be timid and sit down and do nothing. We have to take action. Because, you know, these officers and these forces out here are bullies. We have to address a lot of the issues that's going on. One issue that I feel is a problem is that a lot of these officers are uneducated. Look at this for an example. How come we got lawyers and judges who spend over 5 years of college education plus an extended years of education, and we have these officers, you know, we have these, you know, lawyers and judges, you know, have all of these college, you know, years of education so that they could create, implement, and interpret these laws. And we have these officers who barely have a 2-year education enforcing the laws. The scale is unbalanced. So we have to, you know, do something about it. We have to find a solution in reference to it. So we have to, like, address, these are the type of issues that, you know, the public rarely, you know, talks about. And I learned that from Star. Star mentioned that from Shot 97, Troy Terrain. So he mentioned that. So he addressed that issue. So I just wanted to, like, address that fact with, you know, everyone else out here, you know, today. And there's a whole bunch of other issues that's going on, like, in the community as well, too. You know, we need to, like, educate our people, you know, along with the law. Because if you look, for an example, you look at a lot of, you know, especially black neighborhoods and communities, out of every single block, you can find, like, 5 people who knows the Bible back and forth. You know the Psalms, everything, you know, the songs, the scriptures, and everything. But how many people in your community knows about the Constitution, the Bill of Rights, the Declaration of Independence? The same type of effort, you know, people in these communities know about the Bible, the religion. They need to know about the law. Because how can you play the game if you don't know the rules? How can you be on the court, dribble the ball? You're always out of bounds because you don't know the laws and the rules of the game. So you have to educate yourself on the laws of the land so that you could be aware when somebody's trying to come at you with some foulness and everything, you be able to, like, point that out and address that fact and know how to, like, maneuver it.
Yeah, exactly.
So there's a lot of solutions out there that, you know, we need to address, even though somebody else may not be addressing it. You have to take a, you know, a stand to move forward to, like, address these facts and issues. You know, don't be worried about, like, how other people or your colleagues is going to feel, because right is right and wrong is wrong. You have to do what's right.
Well, I feel like the police community relations are already, you know, messed up. We need more relatable officers in the street, like, you know, like they said, like more African American officers in the African American community. You know, I feel like, you know, you should know your rights. If you get stopped, you need to know the procedure. You need to know, you know, what you need to have with you. Always carry ID. Always, you know, of course you know your address, your phone number. If you're a minor, tell them to call your parents. You know, just little things that you need to know just so that you won't be victimized. Because sometimes it's like, you know that you're not supposed to be in that park after dark, but you're still in there. get out of it. You know what I mean? Like, it's all about etiquette. Like, you know, you walk into a room where it's very quiet. You don't go in yelling and screaming just to be the loudest person in the room. Like, we understand that you're a youth. We understand that you don't want to sit still. But, I mean, sometimes it's like how you act when you go places. You can't get on the train swinging from the rails and expect people to just ignore you. You know, they're going to stop you. They're going to say something. If you cut school, you see a truancy officer, they stop you. You catch your attitude with the truancy officer. You're supposed to be in school. You're not supposed to be here. So I'm here to let you know that this is not where you're supposed to be. Like, some people, you know, they don't know how to carry themselves in certain situations, and it's like, I just want to be me. But sometimes you can be you, but you have to be a more respectful you. You have to present yourself in a different way. You know, like, I feel like you have to know certain things. Like, I feel like I started going to the youth huddle after the march in Staten Island that we had for my father. And I just wanted somewhere to go where I didn't have to talk if I didn't want to. And if I wanted to talk, somebody would be there to listen and not judge me or whatever the case may be. So I would just go and just listen to what's going on. And then I started seeing 8-year-olds with the thought process of somebody who's 25. And it's like, to see these young people come and like ask these questions or want to know these things, it makes me feel like, wow, like, what was I missing at 8 that I didn't ask these questions? So, you know, obviously that child is doing a lot more research. They're curious. Like, curious minds wonder. They want to know what's going on. They want to know why. You want to say that this is bad for me. I want to know why it's bad. What is it going to do to affect my life? These are the questions we ask. We're youth. We don't know anything. Older people are our superiors. You're already set in your ways, but, you know, as a youth, you're a sponge. So you need somebody who can teach you. Like, it takes a village to raise the child. So we have these programs that are being cut. We have after school, no dance programs for anybody under 5, or no basketball programs for anybody over 12. That has to change, because it's like, you know, sometimes you can be 16 or 17, but you have the mentality of a 14-year-old because you weren't taught the proper things. And then when you go to school, you have those teachers who say, whether you learn or not, I get paid. So it's your job as the child to say, okay, well, principal, you need to do something about her, because I'm not learning and she's still getting paid. So I feel like if I don't learn and she's not teaching me, she shouldn't get paid. You know, like, it's up to the youth to start doing that. Because I always said something. So if I see something, I say something. So we just got to say something.
I agree with that as well. I think we need to start with the basics, and all those points are very valid. But I think we also need to bring this conversation at home. It starts at home with our children.
Yes.
We need to have this open dialogue with our kids, no matter how young they are. They are sponges, and they are watching the news. They're hearing things. And so it's our job to lead them in the right way, to share that knowledge, educate them, and, you know, in our schools. We need to take this knowledge in this community and bring it to our schools and be the leaders and the volunteers to share information with our kids and our youth. It's hard for me to talk about my brother with my kids, but it's gotten to the point where they want to know the details. They want to know specifics. And it's my job as a mom to say, this is what happened. But in these circumstances, this is what you do. And they appreciate that. And they want to share it with their friends as well. So I think this conversation starts at home. You know, I think that's where the foundation is at home. We need to teach our kids the right way, and we need to let them know if they're confronted by an officer, what are the procedures? You know, what are you supposed to do? Don't run away, you know, because then that makes you look suspicious and guilty. You know, we need to teach them that you can talk to an officer. There's a certain way to address an officer, and there's certain procedures to follow so that you're not a suspect. So that's what I thank you.
Thank you. Like everyone said, it starts at home, and how you speak to your parents. And if you don't respect your parents, then it's gonna show effectively by police. In my case, well, my brother, I feel that it's basically communication, like everyone says. It has to be a communication level towards everybody. This is my first time speaking since the case, so I really don't have that much.
Take your time.
Take your time.
We love you, sister. Take your time.
But I feel like the police and brutality period, they need to have training and talking to people, like counseling, in order to perform better out the streets, because they go through a lot of things within their house, they go through a lot of things within, yes, they go a lot of things within their facilities. So you don't know, but they're in a facility, they go through a lot of things. So they take it on us as of color, or any color that they take it out on. It's just hard that it's how it happens. It's difficult on why they have to shoot 50 times, why they have to choke, why they have to do everything. It's like with the Eric Garner. Yeah. It's a lot. They just need to grow and be able to, all are human. Everybody goes through things. They have their ups and downs as well as everyone else. But you have to realize that it could have been their son. It could have been, things could have happened differently. They could have, in my case, they could have shoot the car, like the wheel of the car, and instead of killing him, they wasn't getting no shots back. So why should it's a lot. They just need to do better. They just need to do better. They have to do a lot of training. They need training. Every year they need training, or every couple of months they need to be trained.
The police. And the parents, the police, the children before they send them out in the street. And like with me, I don't mean to interrupt, but I just have something to say, and I gotta say. With me, myself, and my husband, we had 6 children. I have 4 daughters, and now I have the 2 boys left. And they used to call my kids the window kids. I lived in Brownsville, and if I didn't go outside, my kids didn't go outside. And I had to be outside, with them in order for them to go outside. And I never wanted them to fall victim to drugs or teenage pregnancy or anything like that. So I spoke to my kids at a very young age. From the time that they were 2, they can tell you right now, I used to say, get a plan, a goal, or a man, one or the other. I need you to give me one thing. I never made them clean and stuff like that. Their job was to go to school and get their education and become productive members of society. I didn't want.
Give a round of applause.
Let's welcome Esaw Garner to the panel.
Myself and my husband, it was a thing where we didn't want our children to be non-productive members of society. So, and everybody used to say, Pinky, you talk to the kids like that? Well, my nickname is Pinky. And I said, because I want them to know. I want them to know that I'm not going to accept teenage pregnancy. I'm not going to accept you doing drugs. I'm not going to accept you disrespecting me. I'm not going to accept you disrespecting anyone else. I made sure that they are respectful, and I told them, your only job is to bring me a high school diploma. If you choose to go to college, then fine, I can't afford to send you. So if you want to go, you need to work hard to get that opportunity to go. My daughters chose not to go. You know, Emma went back. You went for a little while, you know, and, you know, they all bring me diplomas. That's all I asked for. Now I have my 2 boys. And then when this happened to my husband, it was like, what do I do now? I have to raise men. I'm not a man. I can't teach them how to be a man. But I can look around at other men and let them know that this is what I want from you. This is how I want you to present because you represent me. So if I don't do a good job as a parent, I can't expect you to do a good job as a child. I have to tell you how I want you to be. My son is 20 and he'll be 21 and he just got, you know, full scholarship for basketball to college. He has a 3.8 average. He's doing very well. And he goes to school in Newark. I watch the news every day and I see so many things going on in Newark. And I worry about him so much. And I call him, and he's like, Mom, I'm in basketball. I'm like, I'm sorry, okay. I just wanted to hear your voice and let you, you know, want to know that you're okay. That's all I need to know. For me to close my eyes at night and go to sleep, I need to know that you're okay. They all live in their own apartments, but you would swear I paid their bills. Because I call them, I want to know who's in their house, if they leave there, if they went out. You know, I want to know everything. And they say, Mom, you know, we grown. Yeah, okay, y'all can be grown. But until I'm in the ground, I'm a worry. Hey, y'all need to answer my question. And I need to know. You know, so, and then now I have my 15-year-old son. And he's like 6'6", and he plays basketball. And, you know, he spends time with his brother at college. So that gives him the incentive to say, Mom, I want to go to college. So I told him, okay, well, you know what you got to do? You got to get that scholarship. Because I'm broke. I ain't got no money. You know? So, you know, I just wanted to share that with you all. You know, it's all a part of how you parent your children, you know, in order for them to go out and know how to be what you want them to be. Not really what you want them to be, but make them be the best them that they can be. And they are a reflection of you and how you raise them at home and give them to the foundation. It starts with a foundation. I was lucky enough to have my husband for 27 years, to be there to help me raise my daughters. And like Marvin Sapp said, thank God they didn't become thoughts. You know? And I see young girls in the street and I stop, they always say, Ma, you always talking to strangers. But I don't feel like they're strangers. I feel like they're my children too. You know, I feel like if my neighbor's daughter is outside and I see her doing something she ain't supposed to do, I'm going to say something. And if they get disrespectful, then hey, we could get disrespectful together. And then I'm going to let your mama know that
I had to deal with at the time.
I know if I invite everyone to my church, they gotta warn my members. But let's give her a hand. We also want to recognize the parents of Sean Bell, William and Valerie Bell. Let's give them a hand. Stand. Come on, let's give them a hand. On the topic of that we just answered, we also have to know our rights. Yes, you know, to train our children and to let our children know what they should do. But we got to know our rights, and they have to know when they leave the house, they must have ID on them. They must have ID on them, and when they get stopped by an officer, take your hands out your pocket. You know, don't act big shot because you hear what's going on in the news and you think you know it all. You have to be able to follow. You know, now when they stop you, you know, they ask them, if you're a minor, tell them to call your parent. You know, they can only hold you in the precinct but so much when you are under age of 16. And also you ask for your attorney and ask for your family members. Don't just take it for granted for them to just come and harass you for no reason and you just sitting there letting them do it to you. And you feel because, oh, what's going on in the height of Eric Garner and the height of Michael Brown and the height of other cases going on, you feel that all police are the same way and they can be able to deal with it in the same note. I used to always say that, listen, you deal with what's going on so you can live another day. Because, you know, things happen and then you're no longer here because you decided to mouth over with the mouth and deal with it later. And we also have to deal with the problem with the police department. And that's why Reverend Sharpton and Kirsten John Foy and others have been dealing with the issue because they have this system when you make a police complaint against a police officer. Now from the police officer, after you make the complaint with the Civilian Complaint Review Board, it goes to the desk of the police commissioner. That's the police and the police. And we have to change that system so we can be able to come back to the community and not deal with it in the police department. So we need to continue to keep the pressure on them every day and not give up. And just let them know that Black lives matters, gay lives matters, green lives matters, all lives matters, and not just deal with it on a basis where it's just affecting someone on a local level. So teach your kids, yes, but also train them and educate them. The Bible says that we're lost because of lack of knowledge. So give them knowledge and the tools. I have two young sons, my twins, stand up boys, Joel and Joseph. I'm afraid. They tell you, their school is 3 blocks. I'm afraid to let them walk 3 blocks. And you know, I grew up in the streets, I was raised in Brownsville, but I'm afraid just letting them, between the violence and the police, I don't know what to do. I tell people all the time, if I walk down the street and I see some police on one side and some thugs on the other, I'll be more comfortable with the thugs than the police. So we have to deal with that on an everyday basis and educate. We must educate ourselves. So the next question, then we're going to take some questions from the audience, is how do you keep your loved one legacy alive? How do you keep your legacy alive? Because according to the media, they will slander your name. And they will talk about something you did in 1956. They don't got nothing to do with that. They just killed your loved one. But they will talk about something that don't got nothing to do with the case, nothing to do with the person not here no more. How do you keep their legacy alive? Let's start with you, Ms. Laura Diallo Brown.
Thank you for that question. That's really important because it is true. The media does slander your loved ones because they don't know who that person is. They don't know who that person was. For me, my brother was more than a street peddler. I grew up with him. I know the kind of man he was. And he was an educated young man with big dreams. He came to this country because he thought, and like everybody else, America is the land of opportunity and dreams. So he came to pursue his dreams, further his education. He was ambitious, you know, he was independent. He was kind, he was humble, and he loved everybody without any prejudice. He was more than what they portrayed him on TV. He spoke 5 languages. He went to, you know, a French international school. That's where we studied. He spoke 5 different languages. And he was eager to learn about people's different backgrounds and cultures. He was just a unique human being. And for the media to portray him as such, you know, a street peddler, a vendor, somebody who didn't have an ambition or a goal, and that wasn't my brother. So for me, it's my duty from here on out to follow through on his legacy. We have the Amadou Diallo Foundation that's established to follow those dreams that he had through education. You know, we're giving students with African descent the opportunity to come here and study and further themselves and have this opportunity and dream that my brother had that was cut short. So, you know, for me, he it hurts. It hurts so much because there is so much I wish I could share with him, and he's gone. So it hurts, and it makes me angry that I can't share these experiences with him. You know, I have my kids that ask about him, and I know if he was here, he would be so proud to see them and meet them and teach them the right way to be. And he was such a kind human being. You know, his passion of sport, he loved basketball. You know, he loved music. You know, Bruce Springsteen was his favorite artist, and ironically, he wrote and sang a song for him. So it's painful, but it's my duty as his sister to come here in front of all of you to share, you know, to share his legacy and to share the kind of person he was that you guys didn't know. He was a kind human being, and it's such a tragedy to have lost him so soon. So, thank you.
Well, you know, as everyone knows, I started working with the National Action Network and the Crisis Department. I'm in the process of, you know, getting the foundation that I started from my father, the Eric Garner Foundation, that stops today. Trying to, you know, get that off of the ground. His 1 year anniversary of his death is coming up, July 17th. So I'm trying to like plan something big. And basically what I want to do with the foundation is, my father was always a helper. He always liked to help people. That's where I feel like I get it from. My mother, we always say my mother was a mean one, and then my father was a nice one. Because we were spoiled, so, you know, I didn't understand what it means to, you know you can't have it. No, I'm not buying that for you. So, you know, I didn't understand, but, you know, they always tell me, you know, once you have a child, that's it, whatever, you know. So, I was a little bad, but, you know, like with the foundation, what I want to do is I want to help people because that's what he loved to do. Everybody in the neighborhood called my father Pops. You know, like when he bought ice cream for us, he bought ice cream for everybody. He had 6 kids, so he bought ice cream for his 6 kids, plus the other kids that are on the block, and probably their parents too, or something. You know, he's just buying something for everybody. He wouldn't have you, you know, he's not going to eat and have you sitting there, even though he'll have about 5 or 6 plates in front of him. But, you know, you can't have his food, but he'll buy you some. So, you know, he's like, he's always there, like, you know, taking us out, you know, he taught me how to tie my shoes, put my shoes on, the right feet and stuff. So, and he was very good with math. I'm horrible at math, so I always went to him with math homework. Like, you know, he was just a helper. So, like, you know, like foster kids, they need role models. Group home kids, they need role models. You know, like they need places to go, like the Huddle, and you know, other programs where they can just be themselves. And the Huddle was started by Ashley Sharpton. You know, we got familiar with each other on the bus ride back from the march in Staten Island. And, you know, places like that, they give you a chance to voice what you want to do. Like, there's an idea that you want to, you know, execute. You don't have the proper, you don't know people, so, you know, when you go to an elder, they can help you execute that plan. Like, you know, Boys Town or any of those places, they need something to do before they get in trouble, before they head there. Exactly. You know, like they need something to keep them busy. Because a lot of the times they say the duty is from 14 to 18. There aren't any basketball teams for them. They like basketball. They like computer programming. They like games. They like art. They like stuff like that. It's not another program. So I would say that I want to make everything Eric Garner the community because that's what he does. That's where, like, you know, if that's something about my father, they'll always say that he helped me, that he, you know, went above and beyond. He looked out. He, you know, he gave all the time. Like, you know, he would walk around with no shoelace in his shoes. I don't know why, but he'll buy my brother's Jordans, but he's walking around with no shoelaces. And I'll be like, you know, but that's just the type of person he was. He'll give you his shirt if you needed it, like, you know, and he was just nice. Because a lot of people, like, you would say, like, oh, you know, they were nice, but they got a little attitude problem. He was never like that. Like, he had a lot of patience. I don't know, especially for my mother. She's out of control. So if he dealt with her, he dealt with everything. So that's who he was. I want people to know that. I mean, I love you and all that, but, you know, you just, sometimes. She's a, you know, everybody, they have moments, but my father was always the one to bring it down. Bring it, you know. For him to yell, it's like, you know, he must be really upset at mommy if he's yelling. So. But he was always, for the most part, very calm and very collected. So that's one thing that I always. Right. So it's like, you know, we used to get in trouble, but it wasn't like real trouble. So it's like, you know, everything it's cool. So I feel like people know who he was by us because we're adults now. So it's not like it was something he forgot to teach us. So it's like, you know, you get to know your father as a child, and when you grow up, you get to know your father as an adult. I have to tell other people about my father as an adult, but I'll always have childhood memories. So that's what you hold on to.
My brother, he was really a family-oriented person. He's always been like my father. He's always told me what to do, and then he had his 2 children at the time, and I'm like, why are you telling me what to do? Don't you have children? He's like, well, if daddy's not there, I'm gonna be there to support you, and it's like really hard for him not to be here. But he's really outgoing person. He loved baseball. Before he left this earth, he was gonna be a nutrition. So it's for me, I want to better and bring his name out and help others and to encourage others that it's going to be okay. I know it's hard because it's painful. It's been 8 years for me, and it's still hard, but to encourage people to push and fight for our rights. Like, we're supposed to be able to, you know, go down without being scared of who's watching us and how to dress and not be comfortable in America. Like, everybody comes here to think that's good and everything, but it's just, we just have to keep on pushing and fighting for what's right.
Thank you.
I'll continue my legacy since I was a victim. You know, I continue to be who I was before. You know, I've been a productive person in my society. What I love most in my life is being a counselor at the NAN Youth Huddle. That's what I love doing. I love, you know, to inspire these kids to like avoid them from falling into the stereotypes that, you know, our people is going through in society today. You know, I want to see them, you know, be successful. You know, be the next doctors, lawyers, police officers. Because these kids are going to end up growing up to become police officers. We need to like teach them and educate them to do things the right way. You know, another thing is that, you know, in society, you see they slander you so much to break your confidence. I experienced that. You know, they try to assassinate my character. You know, I was beaten out in the streets. I was searched in the streets. I was taken to the precinct, searched again, strip search after that. They couldn't find anything. All they found was camera equipment. They wanted to find that one little thing, like if I had some drugs or something, but they wasn't able to find it, so they was pissed off. So they found other ways to like lock me up, gave me felony charges and everything. Tried to, but I had to fight it for over a year. I remember my lawyer, I was telling my lawyer everything what was going on, and she told me, well, you should have been out there and told me in the first place. So I fired her ass. Like, come on, it's not right. So what I love to do is, you know, it just really, I'm just like so angry with like what's going on. So what we need to do is like, you know, find solutions and everything. I'd like to address something with Officer Serpico. He was an officer based on the movie with Al Pacino. He was an officer who was trying to report police corruption, and they was trying to kill him, and he ended up surviving. And that's a problem with going on, you know, with a lot of officers today. They're afraid of, you know, reporting a lot of these bad officers because they're afraid of retaliation. If it's not a setup for them to like lose their jobs, you know, that's why they have these quotas going on at the end of every month, where you see like a lot of officers out in the street corners. Because if they don't make those quotas, they get written up, you know, they get a lot of pressure. You know, there's also been, you know, officers who've been victims of police brutality. And, you know, people don't like to really, you know, talk about it and address. So what we need to do is try to, like, find a solution, you know, for everybody to get together, because there's pain going on within the civilians, and there's also pain going on within the officers. You know, because the people who are the officers, I know many of us probably have family members who are police officers. And there's a lot of pressure that's going on today. So it'll be good, if possible, if we could like have a march with the officers in uniform saying that all lives matter. Because we have to protect these good officers, you know, because good officers, like the officers that was killed in Brooklyn, they shouldn't suffer from the actions of the repercussions of these bad officers. People are getting angry over these bad officers and trying to retaliate on good officers. So what we need to do, if possible, to like form a march, a protest, the people and the officers together in harmony to like protect these officers and people. And go against these people like Pat Lynch, like that, you know, Pat Lynch, you know, who condones bad behavior of these officers and allow these officers to get away with, you know, with their actions. So this is what we need to do. We need to properly, like, you know, form something so that we all could be together. Because if the people in this country could see that people in New York, officers and people together, holding hands, holding signs, officers in new uniforms. I'm not talking about these officers who are out of uniforms, you know, out of their uniforms, protest. In uniforms, protesting together to say that all lives matter and try to have laws like protect these officers so these officers won't have these pressures. We need to have a big, better difference. And I also like to address the fact of these so-called House Negro officers, these black and Latino officers from our communities, and they coming in and treating people the wrong way. And when they get off a uniform, driving their cars home, if they're pulled over, they quick to pull their badges out. Guaranteed, if they're not quick to pull out their badges, if they drive their cars home and get pulled over by another officer, they'll be a candidate themselves to be shot up or a candidate for a damn-ass chokehold. And that's not right. So these officers need to realize and understand that, you know, we all in the same boat in different parts of the ship. And if the boat sinks, we all drown. So we need to, like, get together in unity, in harmony, and protest together so that we could, like, find a better way and get these superiors, these officer superiors, so that we can, like, change these laws and protect everyone. And that'll make a whole difference in the whole country, possibly the whole world. Because there's people going on, there's people going through this all over the world. It's not just in America. You know, last year Ukraine was going through the same thing. Mandela was in jail for 27 years based on the same thing. People in Korea, China, all over is going through, you know, police brutality, police misconduct, government misconduct. So we need to, like, get together to, like, form something that could, like, help harmony all over the world.
That's great to really have that conversation. It's definitely needed. One of the things that have constant dialogue is that I always ask the question. I remember growing up where I knew the officer that was around. They called him B-Cop. I knew him because anything that I did, I mean, one time I was riding in the back of the bus. People from Brooklyn, everybody from Brooklyn? All right, I used to ride in the back of the bus. And I mean, they did it in Auburn, but it started in Brooklyn. But and when I rode the back of the bus, some of these officers' mentality is beyond because they feel they come into the ghetto or to the hood or to deal with animals or deal with, and that's their mentality. So they think all of us are the same. I like to wear my hood sometimes, but I like to trick them because they think that every time you got a hood or you're doing something wrong, they think you just equal. And I like to trick them sometimes and say, and I'll go along and I respect them. I tell them who I am. The whole atmosphere changed. They changed the whole thing. And they changed, and now they want to be able to say, oh, I'm sorry, I apologize. But those officers who do that, we need to be able to let them know that it is not going to continue to happen in our neighborhoods. We cannot allow them to not be from our neighborhood and to protect us. You know, it's crazy how you have to really think about when something happens to call the police and think twice. I really that you have to think twice about calling the police, you know, for what's happened. So we have to get into the mindset of we do our own patrol, you know, and we really do the community aspect of really patrolling our own streets to deal with our own issues that we have. We deal with the issues of police brutality, but there's another on-ground issue that we have to deal with, is violence. The black-on-black crime is ridiculous. We killing each other on a daily basis. In Queens, an older woman, 71 years old, Peter Webb, she opened her door and she thought that it was a family member. She opened her door and they killed her. It's ridiculous that we have to be able to deal with these issues within us. Yes, it's a break between mental health.
Military,